No great magic show starts with the main trick. There's always a series of small tricks to capture the attention of the audience. When you have them, then and only then, you pop up your main trick. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Iqraam Kiure. Before I show you perception of the self and how to fully utilize it to our advantage, allow me to show you perception in other fields. The power of reframing situations and occurrences cannot be overstated. See, the occurrences in our lives matter less than the control we have over said occurrences, or rather think we have. I need us for a moment to forget about the hidden depths of humanity and instead focus on the hidden shallows. See, we too often forget that things are not what they are, but they're how we view them. I know we've just come from lunch, so forgive me if I get a bit too psychological, but perception, after all, is a psychological field. The first scenario we'll deal with is pensioners versus the unemployed. See, on the surface level, these two seem very similar to me. Both have too much time on their hands and too little money. But oftenly, pensioners seem far happier than the unemployed. Why is this the case? Is it because they believe they've chosen to be pensioners, while the unemployed believe it's a decision that has been forced onto them? In England, they've solved this problem quite fascinatingly. They've simply re-termed unemployment. You see, for a middle to upper class English person, they'd rather say that their son is taking a year off in Turkey than to say that their son is unemployed in Manchester. A simple change in perception has changed the narrative altogether. The great thing about the human brain is that it is capable of interpreting two different scenarios that in a similar manner, whereas a mathematical model cannot. Which is why I think each mathematical model associated with time reaches the same conclusion, that faster is always better. But is it always the case? Ladies and gentlemen, if you take nothing away from me today, do take this. I genuinely believe this will save lives. What I have before you here today is a paceometer. The numbers on the inside, we're used to them. Anyone who drives has seen them on a speedometer, and they're very regular. But the numbers on the outside are anything but. A paceometer shows you the amount of time it will take you to cover 10 miles while moving at that speed. The speeds, by the way, are in miles per hour. So if you're moving at 10 miles per hour, it will take you 60 minutes to cover 10 miles. If you're moving at 30 miles an hour, it will take you 20 minutes to cover 10 miles. See, experts argue that if you're moving slowly, then upping the pace helps you. But if you're already moving fast, then going at ungodly speeds under the assumption of saving time is quite stupid. Because the amount of time you save at the end of the day is irrelevant compared to the risk you've put yourself in. Which is why experts also argue against the creation of structures such as a superhighway in Kenya. Because for me to be allowed to move at a faster speed than my peers, under the assumption of saving time, the distance I should be traveling should be so great that in fact I should just have flown there to begin with. Next scenario is Yankee time versus Southern time. In the United States, there's a great many accents. But the accent I want us to focus on today is the Yankee accent in New York, Southern accent in Southern regions. See, in New York, people tend to speak a bit quicker, they're more to the point. Sometimes they come off as brash and rude. While in the South, people are more polite, more soft-spoken, they're slower. They're considered to be more polite. These are two actions completely separate in nature, yet aiming to achieve the same objective. In New York, people appreciate the value of your time and don't want to take up too much of your time. Whereas in the South, it's a genuine sign of respect to show you how much of my time I'm willing to give away to you. Humans take out two different actions, completely separate in nature, aiming to achieve the same objective, and both are justifiable in the doer's mind. Humans are quite distraught at the nature of changes that are taking place to us. Or rather, as we said before, the level of control we feel we lack with these changes. Which is why I think we keep referring back to a better time, a time in the past that we think was genuinely better. But I dare raise the question, what time's genuinely better? I'm about to get very controversial, my first example. But Donald Trump has recently won re-election in the States. And the key slogan in his campaign was, "Make America Great Again." Make America great again. What times is he referring to when he says again? I took a brief history in the past 20 years in the States, and from 9/11 to the great housing crisis in 2008, to COVID, to a 200% rise in unemployment levels, I fail to see when he's referring to when he says make America great again. Across the pond, a key phrase, a slogan, was let's take back control. But between the rise in interest rates, the rise in living conditions, I genuinely fail to see when they ever really had control to begin with. See, psychology argues that sometimes the value is in the time spent rather than the time saved. Starbucks, a world's leading coffee shop, recently introduced a bizarre policy, a 2-drink policy, where the baristas were only allowed to serve 2 drinks at a time. See, for the coffee drinkers in this room, I've seen you're quick to anger. For the non-coffee drinkers, let me explain something. First coffee drinkers, yeah? We're either one of two things or both. We're either late, extremely tired, or both. So we need our coffee quick. So it's very bizarre for Starbucks to slow down the coffee making process. But the intentions were clear. They aimed to make each customer feel as if they were receiving a handmade coffee and not just some part of a production line. It seems to have worked. The numbers don't lie. Starbucks is the world's leading coffee shop. There's a genuine belief that if we use a system optimally, then the system will work optimally for us. Which is why we welcome technology to try and solve the various difficulties in our lives. But very quickly and very rapidly we realize we are far worse off than when we started. Introduction of trains. It used to take 12 working days to move from the south of the USA to California. By the 19th century, they introduced trains. The first thought on everyone's mind was, and I quote, imagine how fun it would be if we could play golf for 10 days, take a 2-day train to California. Because the train was not there, it wasn't a must, it was there to help us out. But very quickly, it became an obligation for everyone to make their way up to California in just 2 days. What started off as a choice quickly became an obligation. Mobile working and AI. Mobile working and AI were introduced to cater to the various human limitations such as maternity leaves, illnesses, and just plain old human limitation. But Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, predicts that by 2034, 9-to-5 jobs will be a thing of the past. Very quickly, what started off as a means to help us out has become an obligation, has become something we have to do, something you have to let your workers do. Ladies and gentlemen, I dare say we've reached the main trick. See, as humans, we tend to overstate our sense of self-importance, our sense of grandeur. My objective here today to simplify the living process. I'd like to do so with a story my father told me as a young kid. 5 pencil parables. Or something like this. Parable 1. You will be able to do a great many things if you allow yourself to be held in someone else's hand. Psychology terms this as belief. Different people, different cultures believe in different things, but it is belief nonetheless. Parable 2 is that you will experience a painful shopping that will make you better equipped to deal with life. This is life in itself for us. The various trepidations we go through in life make us well equipped to deal with life itself. Parable 3 is that you're surrounded by a hard outer cover, but the most important thing will always be what's inside. Similarly to a pencil, with each and every one of us, the most important thing, forget everything from the outside, the most important thing is what's inside all of us. Parable 4, you will be able to erase any mistakes you make. Just as a pencil has an eraser, we've got repentance and forgiveness. And through that, we can erase any mistakes we make, no matter how big. Last parable is that on any surface you're used, you will leave a mark. As humans, we've done it tired, we've done it happy, we've done it sad, but we've done it nonetheless. We've kept going. In 5 simple statements, I've shown each and every one of you how you are exactly like a pencil. Like a simple piece of stationery. See, I have no idea what the point of all this is, this whole life thing. Let me spare you the suspense. No one truly knows either. My genuine hope is that as you leave here today, you will understand one thing. That there are various ways to look at it. Thank you so much.